Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Good. Good morning. Hi, Donna.
Are you back out of town again?
No, I'm here. I'm just getting ready. Coming into the office today.
Awesome.
Was up late writing the contract.
Cool. Tell us about it. Buyers?
Buyers, yep. This is my sister and brother-in-law. They weren't going to buy until January, but then they started seeing some things that were exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah.
I talked to them about not looking in just Lilburn, but also looking in Woodstock. So the very last house we went to at 7 o'clock last night was the house, and they put an offer in last night, and they're going to be reviewed because there's one other offer on the table at noon, which is great, but it's also a person that Brooke has worked closely with, and we've already built a rapport, so yeah, we'll see.
Man, you showing homes at 10 o'clock at night?
No. The house wasn't available until 7 o'clock, so 7 o'clock at night, and then came back and started putting the contract together for them.
Awesome.
So,
Good
yeah.
work. Good
Yeah.
work. Boy, so they went from, what'd you say, Lilburn to Woodstock?
Yeah.
All right. Boy, that's a big change.
It is a big change, but Lilburn, they're in Brookhaven right now, so it's not that big of a change. It was one of those things that they just didn't know where they wanted to be. And each time they went to Lilburn, they realized that's not the place. And I said, they had a misconception about Woodstock and the distance, and then they did it, and they're like, this is not horrible at all. So, and then they fell in love with the house. It was exactly what they wanted. It was just a lot of little things about this house that it kind of just spoke to their hearts. And yeah, it was awesome. So we'll see. Yeah.
All right. So the only way somebody's going to figure out if somebody is thinking about Lilburn and ultimately going to end up in Woodstock is by asking a lot of questions, right? So you probably asked them a lot of questions, and from the answers to those questions and probably some additional questions, you figured out that Woodstock could be a good match, right?
Exactly. And I just made them also, I said, okay, you're not certain, you guys need to go drive the area. I'm not going to have you look at houses there. You need to know. And as they were driving the area, they realized that wasn't a fit for them. So I wasn't going to waste our time looking at something that wasn't going to end up being where they were going to be.
Right. And I've always said that you got to go drive the area. Like, you know, if you want to know who your neighbors are going to be, the best thing to do is to sit by the front of the neighborhood and look at who they are.
Exactly.
Or go to the local coffee shop and see who's having coffee. Or
exactly.
Go to the bank or the grocery store and see who's there.
Yep. Right. And that's what we did all yesterday. We went and looked at several houses in the area. We went to lunch. We went into where they would go shopping. We went to the bank that they would go to. They got to meet two of their neighbors, possible neighbors who they ended up really liking. So it was great.
That's awesome. Well, you've got a lot of patience. I would have a hard time touring them around the community all day long. I'd probably say go do it yourself.
Well, it's my brother and sister-in-law. I mean, my sister and brother-in-law. So part of me was just like, Wendell, I know him, and it's going to serve him well for me to do that. So I wouldn't have to do it with everyone. But I also have to read every line and explain the contract to him because he's a first-time buyer where she's not. So
okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't that bad, and now he feels better, and he's just like, all right, I'm ready. So
cool. Actually, that's one thing I wanted to chat about today a little bit was the contracts. Generally speaking, how are you guys feeling on your ability to either interpret a contract, understand a contract, negotiate a contract, what's normal, what's not normal, how to kind of give a quick brief on the contract or to a buyer or seller, and kind of understand the nuances. What's the comfort level there?
Well, since I've moved every 2 years, so and in California we've been doing DocuSign for a long time, so I'm very familiar, and it was very easy for me to go through and explain. And then also because I've taken the classes that Keller has done on the contracts, if you don't understand it, do that. Read through the contracts, play with the contracts, have copies at home. it's advisable. I think it's a good idea. So I would ask those questions.
How about everyone else? Do we feel that that is a weakness? Is that should we have a little pop-up class on some contract in particular? How do we feel about that?
Well, for me, I feel like I don't know what I don't know. So I'm kind of learning as I go, as things come up. That's about it. I mean, I'm good with the purchase and sale and my FHA contingency, the backup offer, but that's, you know, what you went over yesterday was helpful.
Okay.
But everything else will be new to me.
Okay, gotcha.
Of course,
I think you need to do it, Bill.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
And just, you know, the whole writing an offer and not just run through it quickly, go over, you know, what kind of stipulations you might want to put in there, you know, that sort of thing, and how the counter offer, you know, how a counter offer works, etc.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm still seeing things for the first time.
gotcha.
A lot of the processes that I'm going through. So
the most effective way to do that would be, I'm just going to throw out an idea and you guys tell me if this sounds reasonable. We pick a property, just like kind of we did the other day with the with Trace's listing, and we comp it together. You know, we look at the data, say, okay, this home's been on the market for this amount of time. What do we think is an appropriate price? We create a scenario from a lending perspective. We put the offer together. And as we're filling it out, we're explaining, okay, this is why we put this for earnest money, and this is why we might want to do it higher or lower, that kind of thing. And then we can walk through the counter offer process, and we can kind of understand some of the loan exhibits and special stipulations and typical stuff, and you know, how to find it and how to, you know, pull in signatures and all that stuff on DocuSign. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I had to go to Pam for help with the stipulations when I wrote my offer. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have known what to put in there as far as the wording.
Gotcha. So first of all, thank you, Pam. I would put Pam up against anyone in the office on contracts. She knows those things backward and forward. She's editing my contracts at this point.
She's awesome, and she's always willing to help. So I really appreciate you, Pam.
Another good thing that we could put
my
together.
Internet's kind of wonky. They supposedly have it working, but it's coming in and out. But, you know, I got strong in contracts because my productivity coach, when I started, went over them on a regular, you know, very regular basis. And I went to every class to learn about them.
Okay.
You know, we used to have in-person classes with Kern and Kathy going over contracts and stuff, you know, in the office before COVID. And, you know, the best I can tell you is just go to every one and you'll hear the questions people ask and things like that. That'll help. Gotcha.
So next week we'll put something, we'll put a little session on. Jan, were you about to say something?
Yeah, something I think that would be great, especially for all the new agents, is a document that lists special stipulations. Just you know, just a random document that has a bunch of special stipulations already written and typed out in a good worded format that they can just copy and paste into their documents. You know, open that up and say, okay, what?
And while GAR has some of those, they don't have everything.
Well, and you know, there's just some stipulations. Like I put a stipulation in there about how they have to provide all the document, you know, whatever they're supposed to be providing in all of the first 10 special stipulations within 72 hours, or you as the buyer can cancel that contract, or I mean the seller, and you know, monies can be gotten back, what have you. I can't remember what the stipulation is, but somebody gave that stipulation to me, you know.
Are you referring to the seller providing like disclosure statements?
Like sometimes it's the seller has to provide disclosure statements, or you know, they're supposed to be making repairs, and you know, all these sellers, they drag their feet, and I've even had them come to the end of the contract and decide they don't need to make those repairs because they decided. So I write it into the contract. Well, if you decide and you don't do it, I get my money back, and there's no argument because it's right there in the contract.
All right,
So,
I like that idea a lot. Jan, will you start by sending me some of your favorites, please?
I will. I
Okay.
will.
And I'll ask the top 20% group today and the ALC group today to send me a sampling of their most common STIPs as well. And give me, we'll see how quickly everyone sends it, but I will, my commitment is I'll put that list together for you. Okay.
That's a great idea, Jan.
I
Thank
like
you.
that. Thank you. Okay, guys, anytime you have ideas like this, just shout them out. You're almost certainly not the only one that would benefit from this, and you're also not the only one that is likely struggling. And that's a list that could benefit everybody, right? We may make that open to everyone at the office because everyone can benefit from it. I also know that if you go to I want to say it's the Roswell. I'm just going to do a really quick look at this. The Roswell page, the Roswell Rocks Keller Williams page. If you go to the video section, let me just double check this. You go to the video section. Actually, I don't see it there right now. Susan has spent a lot of time going through videos on the contracts, and basically, and not that I'm unwilling to do the class, I'm certainly willing to do the class, but in the meantime, or if you ever need it as a resource, there's videos of Susan explaining all the contracts. I'm going to look into.
They're there. It's under, there's a videos tab, and then I think it says Susan's videos.
Okay, I'm looking. It just looks like they're all put together. Am I looking at it right?
I'll have to find it. I can find it and post it.
Yeah, it just looks like they're all in there. I see some videos from like years and years ago.
It'll say Susan's videos, and then I think there were like 6 of them.
Okay.
They're not labeled though. You have to, but it shows like a picture of whichever contract she's talking about.
Yeah, if you could just let the group know about that, just as a resource in the meantime, that would be awesome. Thank you. Okay. Quick pop quiz. What are the DTD2 or DTD4 letters for this week? What are the letters of the last names of the people we're supposed to be calling this week? Anybody? It's on the email I sent. Everyone read the email, right? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Heather, were you about to answer?
No, I was thinking, no, I was so busy like going through my whole alphabet that I didn't look for the 4.
Okay, it is H as in Harry, V as in Victor, C as in Cherry, and K as in Kansas. Okay, H, V, C, K. So a quick reminder on what that means is that you go through your database. If you have people in your database whose last name ends in those letters, then you call them. That's your project for the week. Okay, remember that we could be offering the app. We could be asking questions about their real estate goals. We could be asking them basically the checking in, the love questions from the agent pivot scripts, and just generally a touch point. One thing that I'm noticing as some of these numbers come in is that we're still kind of in that, like for example, we've done 515 hours of lead generation and only had 2,164 contacts, which means we average on per hour 4 contacts, just a hair above 4 contacts. That means that each time that we initiate or we have a two-way exchange, on average, it lasts 15 minutes. That's a lot. It's going to be, you know, many of the people that I've done one-on-ones with that have, that we're trying to iron out our goals and trying to figure out how many people we have to touch on a daily basis. these numbers are in like the 13, 15, 17, 18 people. I mean, with that type of efficiency, you're looking at 4 to 5 hours of lead generation. And you should not have to spend that amount of time generating those leads. So tell me a little bit about what you're experiencing. Are you having more calls with people you know? Are you having trouble getting off the phone? Are you watching the clock? Tell me a little bit about what you're experiencing there.
For me, it's a lot of people that I haven't seen or spoken to for a while, so there's a lot of catching up to do. And then the clock does get away.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm going through that same, because I'm calling the people I know. And a lot of these people I hadn't talked to since before a lot of life events. So they want to catch up on that as well as everything recent.
Okay. What my recommendation would be is, you know, as I've always said, you have to earn the right to ask for business. Generally speaking, though, the difference between a 10-minute and a 30-minute conversation, you're going to be able to get the same stuff done, right? So if you sense that you're transitioning into more of a kind of a non-business call, then you could say, hey, you know, I'm just trying to wrap up a couple projects before the end of the day. Could I call you back at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, and have those lengthier conversations at a time when the general public is not expecting your call. Does that make sense? But during work hours or during lead gen hours, we want to focus on getting through as much as we possibly can. Make sense?
Bill, what would you say is the appropriate amount of length to talk to somebody?
So I'm going to answer that question slightly different, which is to say that what they say low efficiency of lead generating is about 6 to 8 contacts per hour. Medium efficiency is around 8 to 10 contacts per hour, and high efficiency is around 12 to 14 contacts per hour. So if you're doing 12 contacts an hour, that's 5 minutes on average. But keep in mind, if you're cruising through like an expired list or a circle prospecting list, those conversations could literally be less than 30 seconds. And that counts as a contact, which theoretically gives you time, a little bit more leeway when you're having more of a deeper conversation, right? Now, if you have a conversation where, you know, you're asking the pre-qualification questions and you are, you know, forging that relationship, you don't want to be staring at your clock because the energy of that phone call will be obvious, right? You want to be able to be focused on that and extract as much information and deliver as much value as possible. We just want to be cognizant of how much time we're spending making the amount of contacts we're having, right? By the way, you know, I'm certainly not accusing anyone of this, but I know sometimes we just throw up some random numbers and say, it's about 3 hours, it's about an hour, right? And that could cause some of these stats to be skewed a bit. You know, if you know, like I had an appointment yesterday where it was pretty evident in the first 2 or 3 minutes that we weren't going to go anywhere. And so we had the short script, which is, sounds like you're very happy. If you have any questions in the future, I'm here. Bye. Right? I got to move on to something different. Right? But if you're forging that relationship and you're earning the right, you're making deposits, go ahead and do it. But please understand that the numbers aren't going to lie, right? If you spend 3 hours and you make 7 contacts and your goal is 15 contacts, you're gonna have to work a lot to hit those numbers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll just do a quick little post here of the, thank you, Donna, for posting the link. Did everyone see that? Donna just posted the link for the videos for Susan's, that Susan did a couple months ago and has updated over time for the contract. So take a peek at that if you have some specific questions. And remember, if you have questions about something in particular, shout it out. Let's spend some time on it. I just posted the link for tracking. If you were behind in tracking, please update so that we can have constant updated numbers here. Okay, I want to talk about a couple of other things. How are we feeling on, what are we noticing in the marketplace? Are we seeing people that are making quick decisions? Are we seeing people that are resistant? Are people nervous out there? What are we seeing?
I feel like people are making quick decisions because I feel like as soon as something comes on the market, especially in my buyer's price point, it's gone. I mean, they're making an offer on it right away, and we're like always behind the 8 ball.
Okay, so are you behind the 8 ball because you're not able to see the home fast enough? Are you behind the 8 ball because your buyers don't have the appropriate amount of motivation?
No, it's not motivation. I think it's because of she's not able to see things during the day, and then she had a grandma who's ill, so she's had to go out of town a couple of times, but mostly because we can't see things until late in the day, or I can't see it with her. So I don't know if I should be going out and looking at things on my own to see whether it's worth bringing her to see. I'm just not sure.
I think that would probably be that would be an extra effort that I'm sure she would appreciate, that would increase the level of service that you're providing. I also might have that conversation with her to say, hey, I've noticed, and I'm sure you have too, that we've been late to the party a couple of times. So I was brainstorming some ideas on how we can not be late to the party. One of which, would be I go to the home by myself and walk around videoing it for you, right? And then we write an offer that is aggressive, just like these other people. And if you don't like it, once you get off of work, then we can withdraw the offer. Or if it happens to go under contract, and then you see the home and you don't like it, then you can back out.
Yeah, we actually did that when she was out of town, and the only problem was she wanted to ask for a closing cost, even though I recommended that we not do that because there were other offers. And that's the one we ended up putting a backup offer in on. But she was fine with me going and videotaping it, and she wanted to make an offer off of that video.
Okay, so based on that, if she loses an offer, it should not be because she couldn't get in there fast enough. She's given you permission to initiate her seeing it without it being in person. Make sense? And it sounds like you've done some expectation setting with respect to these closing costs to say, hey, when there's multiple people that want this property at the same time, there's a possibility that the fact that you're asking for closing costs could prevent you from winning. Now, a way to counter that, of course, would be to go back to the lender and see if the interest rate could be adjusted slightly up to minimize the number of closing costs that she would have, or you increase the sales price to accommodate that. So if the place is listed, let's say for 300, and she needs $5,000 in closing costs, then maybe she could offer 305 or even 306, right? To offset those closing costs so the seller nets the same amount of money. Okay, what else are we seeing out there? Anyone? Liz?
Thank you for the car, but I was looking at the marketplace numbers, and it seems like we are very close to where we were in 2019 right now.
Go into a little bit more detail. What do you mean by that?
Like homes coming on the market. If you look at the sheets that I think it's Lucy sends out.
Oh yeah, the Chartmaster sheets, yeah.
Chartmaster, yeah. It seems like if you compare the 2 years, we're very close, and I think a lot of people were worried about that the market is so much slower than we were last year. In reality, we're not. We're very close to the numbers that we were last year.
Okay. And how can we use that when we're talking with sellers or buyers or prospective sellers or buyers?
Well, reassuring them that this is not, even though you may see on the news that we are officially in a recession, it's not affecting the market. Look at these numbers. Last year we had a very healthy market, and we are right there this year. In fact, I think everybody that was kind of waiting in the height of the coronavirus
Mhm.
is now still having that need and that want and jumping out there.
Good. Very good. And you got record low interest rates.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Any other ways? Is that, well, first of all, does everyone know what sheet she's talking about? So every week, Chartmaster Chuck has been sending out weekly updates on the market, and he's showing comparisons between this time last year and this year, and also each week as since COVID started, and to see what's going on trending in the marketplace. Are you guys reviewing that? Do you have some questions about how that material is being presented? How can I help you with that?
Yeah, I check it out every time it comes.
Okay. Did you notice anything in particular?
I haven't looked at the chart master list that Lucy has sent out, but I look every week when the numbers are posted, what happened last week. And, you know, the number of listings is going down substantially, and the number of homes that are going under contract are going up substantially. And the number of closings are going up substantially. So, you know, and that closing number is skewed because of the coronavirus, but you know what that tells me is that it's a fabulous time to list your house because you can get all the money for it. But what I'm hearing, and I've seen this come across time and time and time again over the last 2 weeks, is that, you know, the fear is that, you know, 60 days from now, we're going to see a huge shift in the market because of the forbearance. You know, I had 3 things come across my desk yesterday that said the same thing.
You're talking about people that are behind on their mortgage that are being protected now that will not be protected later, and they'll be trying to list their homes, or what shift specifically are you expecting?
Well, you know, they're saying that a lot of people are going to start going into foreclosure because of not, you know, because they're going to owe 3 or 4 months mortgage payments, because mortgage companies had a choice of how they could handle the forbearance, but most of them just put those 3 or 4 months payments on hold, and when forbearance is over, you have to come up with all of that money. Well, if you couldn't pay it today, how are you going to pay it 4 months from now?
Yeah,
if you've been out of a job.
Exactly. So how would you use that specifically when speaking to a seller or a would-be seller, right? Hurry up and get it on the market so we don't have to compete with this glut of homes that are going to pop on the market with distressed people, right?
Yeah, 90% of those that are in forbearance still have a great deal of equity, at least 10% of equity.
Where did you read that?
That was on Black Knight site.
On what site?
Black Knight. They're the one that always releases the percentage of forbearances.
Good for you. Good for you doing that research. So, you know, when you're speaking with people on the phone, you can ask that question. You know, hey, I'm coming across, you know, a number of people that they're struggling from a forbearance standpoint, yet they actually have a good amount of equity. So, you know, who do you know that might need some consultation right now? Right now, does that sound salesy, or does that sound like you're coming from the heart and you're looking to help people in the community?
Well, it looks like you're trying to help them. I wanted to point out, I'm looking at the Chartmaster's Chuck that Lucy sent out this week, and out of the last 7 weeks, 3 of the weeks we've had more listings than we did last year.
So what do you think that says, Pam?
I think it says people are starting, you know, more people are starting to list. You know, definitely more people are listing. That the coronavirus, they're kind of like, oh, okay, that's not impacting my decision. Okay.
And therefore, how how do you feel that's going to be affected by what we were just talking about?
Well, you know, there could be a more of a glut on the market when those that have the forbearance where they have to come up with all of their payment at one time are listed.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I was just looking in an area for a seller where previously there were listings in that high school district in like 170s, 180s, even as low as 160. Right now, the lowest active listing is 235.
Wow. Wow.
And it's not even not a great school district.
Are you talking about Courtney?
Yep.
235?
Yep. That's the lowest price active listing in the Osborne High School district for 3 bedrooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Let
me tell you a quick story about that. So this is a home literally that not even a month ago we were talking about listing for 200. You think we can get more than 200 now?
Yeah, I think so. I just realized that this morning, so I'm going back to kind of look more closely at what's most like his home.
Wow, I can't believe that a home like that would go for 235, but wow. So that's why you don't set the price in stone until right before you put it on the market, because you don't know what could happen in the meantime. Right?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Listening to talking about the forbearance versus foreclosure and going through, if some of these people don't have funds right now to cover their mortgage, do you feel some of these people do you think they're still employed? Or
it could be they're unemployed, it could be they're looking, it could be they're underemployed, it could be they're furloughed. I mean, it could be
so there's probably not a high likelihood that they qualify for refi.
Well, maybe not in the conventional standpoint, but they could do, there'll probably be some loan modification programs and that kind of thing that appear.
Because if they have that equity and they have like a history of stability, even if they're not stable now, I didn't know if there were any options for people who want to be proactive. Because if they refi, then those payments that they held off on would then be paid back to that lender, and then
they're starting fresh, basically.
Right.
That's essentially what a loan modification would be. So if you're aware of anybody in particular that's having this challenge, the first question they should go, the first place they should go is to their lender and say, hey, I've had this mortgage for 6 years. As you can see, I have this type of job or just lost this type of job. And I know you don't really want the house back. And I'd like to talk to you about refinance options. I'd like to keep it. And
because if people start doing that now before there's a big flood of it, they're more likely to get it than if suddenly a lot of people are asking at once.
Yeah, 100%. And there'll be a lot of loan modification programs that come up after, because let's say the forbearance ends in pretty much now or next week or something, and then it'll be a month before they miss their first payment, and then another month before they miss their second payment. So it's not all going to happen like this. But if you know somebody that's in trouble or wants to review what their options are, they got to go to their lender, and you can help facilitate this possibly and say, hey, I'm in trouble. What are my options here? Can we refinance at a lower rate? Can I do some type of loan modification? Am I in a situation where I have to sell so I can take that equity and move into a rental and kind of regroup? So this is our opportunity, guys, to...
I think this would be a good thing if we can come up with a script or something that we can all know what to say to people, and putting something like this on Facebook as a, hey, are you in forbearance right now? Are you concerned about what's going to happen when it's over? Call me and I can help you give you some ideas of what to do. And so if we have, and so that's kind of a reverse prospecting in a way.
Of course it is, yeah.
But I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So if we can come up with some kind of script or like things to say, to talk about, and then say talk to your lender, or here a couple lenders you can talk to. That I would be grateful for something like that.
Okay, perfect. I like that idea too. Probably one of the, what you basically just said from a marketing standpoint would be all you need to do, right? If you or somebody you know has this issue, I've got some answers for you and I'd love an opportunity to help.
Yes.
Then the floodgates come in and you
exactly.
Say,
so right? I want to be prepared for that because right. That post is simple, but I want to make sure that I'm prepared for calls or questions.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that every mortgage and every mortgage holder is unique. And, you know, if each of you had that issue and each of you came to me as a local real estate expert, and everyone has a different mortgage, everyone has a different payment, a different job situation. So the short and sweet of it is, hey, we got to call your lender and ask the appropriate questions, and here they are. Right,
and that's what I need. I want a list of those appropriate questions that they can then ask their lender, and something I can just potentially email them and say, here are some good questions to ask your lender, and this is how it can help you. Because if I have that to be able to give them, because I don't know that.
Yeah, of course. If you have that, you're just delivering more and more value, and
yes.
You're able to generate more and more leads.
Yes.
Good work.
Yeah. It would be great if we could maybe have a forbearance mastermind and put a list of those questions together and potential answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. You guys are giving me lots of ideas for this week. I appreciate that. Okay, quick little update, and then we'll call it a morning. So Peggy Connors and I have rescheduled our lunch mastermind. We're going to do it, as we all know, from 3 to 4 on Thursday is going to be our all group session, and we're going to have her start off. She's going to be on for the first 30 minutes at least. She could probably do a little bit more time. She was just concerned that she didn't have enough to say for an hour, but I think she's got plenty to say. So she's going to start at 3. So that's this Thursday from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We'll have our all group session, and she will be on it from 3 to 4. And I'm working on a session with Kim Hutchins. I don't know if it's going to be this Friday, but we are back and forth to try to figure it out for the next launch or the next lunch series. Today, what I want you to do is I want you to focus on sharing your app with as many people as you can. Okay, and what I'd like to do is on this group, let's say on the announcements page, actually let's do it on the help page. On the WhatsApp help page, I want you to be posting how many times you're sharing the app. Okay, so as you're generating your leads this morning and you're checking in with your loved ones and you're asking about mortgage forbearance and you're asking who you can help and you're loving on your people, the people whose last names start with H, V, C, and K, okay, I want you to be familiar with, I want you to be able to share your app, okay? So the goal today is who can share the app with the most people, okay? That's the play of the day. What's that, Liz?
One question. I don't have my app set up. Where's the best place to go to get a training? Where do I go to get the training on how to do that?
Command.
There are a lot of videos on that. Brian, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I went through and tried to set mine up this weekend, and I think some of the videos on Command were pretty helpful. And then it might actually be Marty Miller. He might have some videos on YouTube as well that help out. But everyone that I've shared it with, and even myself, my app just keeps crashing. And I know maybe Donna had mentioned that last week. But maybe I don't have something set up properly, but anytime I go to search, it just crashes.
Really?
Yep.
Have you heard a lot of feedback on the app, Bill? Because I've gotten a lot of negative feedback. Do you know if they're still
I haven't
working?
heard anybody saying that they love it other than the people in admin saying that people are going to love it.
I have heard people have really liked it, but I've also heard that there are, kind of stuff going on behind the scenes that, like crashes and that kind of stuff. So, okay, let's change the play. Behavioral flexibility. Okay, let's change the play. I don't want you to be afraid of sharing the app. However, if I understand if you want a certain comfort level before you make a big deal about it. Okay, so the play of the day today is who can have the most contacts. Okay, who can have the most contacts. I want you to think of a number right now that you're going to commit to of how many contacts you can have today. Okay, and I'm gonna recommend a minimum. Okay, for today, I'm gonna recommend a minimum 20. Okay. Can we all go out there and have 20 conversations with somebody about real estate? It can be a text, two-way text. It can be a LinkedIn message that they respond to. It can be a phone call. It can be a video text. I know a lot of you had some good open houses over the weekend, right? Can you send them a quick video, right? Can you send them a home that's similar to the one you were hosting as open and see if they like it? I don't care if they like it or not. It's a touch point. And it's the fact that they know you're thinking about them, and the other agents that were hosting the other open houses that they went to on Sunday probably aren't doing that. So this is your time to blow them away. So how many contacts can we have today? Okay, minimum of 20. And post on the help desk or help chat on WhatsApp your results as you're having them. Okay.
And Bill, on another note, I wanted to mention, I read this morning where that agent that was attacked at her open house last weekend,
Yeah.
She posted in the within one of the posts on the Bold Pivot group and said she's feeling okay, all things considered.
I guess that's as good of a news as you can hope for.
Yeah, exactly.
You
I
don't
think
know what we're
emotionally it might be longer. It might.
Yeah, she probably won't be doing many open houses, I suspect, nor by herself, certainly.
Right.
Wow. All right.
Hey, if you guys have any open houses that you're doing by yourself, give me a call because I'll come sit with you. Please don't do them by yourself.
I appreciate
Thank you,
that,
Brian. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Brian. I
much.
appreciate that.
It's so nice to have a guy in the group here. I really appreciate it. All right.
I might have an overactive 6-year-old with me, but we'll do our best.
It's all good. Family first, man. All right. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to your results.
All right.
Hey.
Bye.
Y'all later.